And now, the main event, where tonight's entertainment is the review of entertainment. We like movies, we like television, and we like overthinking it. Introducing the podcast of critics.
Hello
and welcome
to the podcast of critics. We did it together this time.
That's crazy.
That was fun. I'm one of your hosts, Garrett. Joining me,
I'm Ashley.
Welcome back. This is episode 4. We're doing this. We're continuing to do this.
That's crazy.
We're one series in. A bit of housekeeping at the start. I want to thank everybody who has listened to even a minute of our first 3 episodes covering the Ocean series.
You can't see me, but I'm nodding vigorously.
Nodding.
Just eating gummy worms.
There you go. I'm keeping track of the metrics and stuff on our website so I can see who's listening and how many people are and stuff, which is cool. So we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody's support. We hope you continue to listen.
How do you feel about this journey? Because we haven't really talked about this yet.
I think it's interesting. It's crazy. I feel we're early into the journey, so we're still figuring it out. And I think especially the Ocean's movies are so good too. It's like those are real movies,
right?
Which is why I think I'm excited to get now.
We're gonna be silly.
Yeah, these next few
silly
episodes,
goose, if you will.
Right? Yeah, we're getting silly and goosey with it. We are diving into a series that I like to call. I'm gonna throw some effects on this. You ready?
Okay.
Disney Channel Original Summer. That's it.
No,
guys.
I want the do.
Guys, I hate to break it to everybody who's listening to this. This is a firmly millennial podcast at this point.
Are we millennials?
We're younger millennials, I think,
because we are born in different years, technically speaking.
I'm at the end of 95. You're like in the middle, I guess, of 96.
Yeah, my birthday's coming up. Don't forget.
That's. I guess I won't after this. I'm going to be going back and editing it, being like, right. remember that.
Write that down.
But we're young. We're like zillennials, I guess. It depends on what slang we're using at the time, I guess.
We're on this weird cusp where we identify with millennials, but millennials don't claim us.
Yeah.
But also the Gen Zers think we're old.
Right, yeah. It depends. We're bussin'. That's what they say, right?
I don't know.
Are we hip to it? No?
I do not know.
Swag.
Nope, that one's too old.
Yeah. Anyway.
Bet.
But we're going back to like the mid 2000s Disney movies. We're going to knock out 3 of these because that's all we can kind of stomach before we can move on to some other better movies, I guess. If we sat here and did like every Disney Channel movie, we'd be here for like 10, 15 episodes. That's just going to take too long. I don't think anybody wants to hear us talk about them for that long. So we're only going to do 3 for now. Maybe in the future, in future summers or something. And maybe
we also picked obscure ones on purpose.
Yeah, we picked one, not too obscure, but certainly
They're
ones
not the ones that you remember watching several times when you were older.
Yeah, no. Like, we're not doing the Halloween towns because obviously we need to do those around like Halloween. We're not doing, I think it's like Xenon of the 21st, whatever, like those ones that everybody...
Johnny Tsunami is his own series.
Sure, yeah. There's ones that we'll come back to in
High
the
School
future.
Musical, of course, is its own series.
Yeah, right. So there's so many ones that like can be grouped into its own thing. We're going to save those for when we do those.
Right.
So we have 3 like unrelated but memorable ones that we liked. I picked one. Ashley, you picked one. And then we agreed on the last one that we'll do.
Right.
So the one
we agreed.
we agreed. Yeah, we defaulted to like, we'll do that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it's coming. We won't tell you what the other 2 are just yet. They'll be dropping the next few weeks after we release this one. But we are kicking off with my pick, which is Now You See It. Before we get into the movie proper, though, Ash, I wanted to ask you whether you identify more as a Disney Channel kid or a Nickelodeon kid.
I definitely identify more as a Disney Channel kid, and especially in the Kim Possible, Braceface, Hannah Montana era.
Wow,
era.
Braceface. I forgot about
Proud
Braceface.
Family.
Sure.
For sure. And then Phineas and Ferb was a classic.
Yeah.
I did not have cable growing up. That was not, that was too worldly
Right.
for our household.
Ah, okay.
I had so Disney did the ABC summer or like ABC Saturdays.
Yeah, yeah.
And so on regular ABC channel, you could watch. They would do those in the mornings on Saturday mornings.
Okay.
Saturday morning cartoons or whatever.
Sure.
And it was Phineas and Ferb, The Replacements, which I don't know if you ever remember.
I did remember The Replacements. That was pretty good. I like Replacements.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Underrated show, for sure.
Cool concept.
Emperor's New School.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes Phineas and Ferb, and then Hannah Montana usually, as well as some Sweet Life of Zach and Cody in the hotel, and then some of it on deck.
On deck, yeah.
And then the weird moment where the Jonas Brothers made
Their show.
for like a season.
It was
maybe
just
2.
Jonas? I think it was just called Jonas.
I think it's Jonas LA, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because it was like about them moving to LA. Or
Weird
from
period.
Nashville? Is that where they came from?
That most music people do. I'm sure that sounds right. I don't know.
Sure, I'm not sure. Anyways.
Don't know my Jonas Brothers lore.
But yeah, I identify as a Disney kid. I knew about Nickelodeon, but Nickelodeon was like a little too rude.
A little too edgy.
And now that we're getting things that are coming out with like the documentaries.
Oh, the Quiet on Set stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
I feel a little vindicated not being a Nickelodeon kid.
I don't want to tell my parents that they were right. But they were right,
Damn.
I guess.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I'm definitely more of a Disney channel. If I'm being honest with myself.
I was a PBS kid though.
So was I. I was a
Through
huge.
and through.
Yeah, I was a big PBS kid as well. Like that is definitely. If my parents had like a favorite choice for me, it was PBS. Like I was doing Between the Lions. I was doing Arthur. But I was more of a Disney kid. My brother and I really liked Sweet Life.
Blue's Clues.
Blue's Clues, sure. That was on Nick Jr. and stuff though.
Whoops.
Yeah. But Nick only had, if I'm thinking, like, I like Ned's Declassified and I liked Drake and Josh on Nick, but that was kind of it. I hate to say it, I'm not a huge SpongeBob person. It just never, I was too old by the time I was kind of allowed to watch it, and so it didn't, I like the memes, but it doesn't land for me in like a super nostalgic sense.
It's not a nostalgic pull for me. It's just in general kind of funny, but
It's funny now.
Funny as an adult.
Yeah, but
if I was watching that as a kid, like I would be very disturbed now.
Yeah, it's more annoying than anything, especially now. Like I just aged out of it by the time I got around to it. But Disney Channel, my brother and I really liked Sweet Life because like I really identified with Cody, he really identified with Zach, so that really sat well with us.
Interesting.
Hannah Montana was good. That's So Raven.
Oh yeah, I forgot
good.
about her.
Yeah. As we're getting into these Disney Channel movies, I was thinking too that these are actually pretty good. Like they're not high cinema or anything. I think that's one of the first things we got to get out of the way as we kind of get into these discussions on these ones is that they're not high cinema. But I think
there's not going to be as much red yarn, I don't think.
No.
There is a little bit for me, just from the cusp.
Sure. But I think they're good primers for kids who are raised on these, and maybe some kids who still are. Are
you talking about grooming?
No. I'm saying.
Where are we going?
I'm saying that they are good, like kids' first live action movies. Because when you're a kid, like you would go and watch like Star Wars or something like that.
I see what you mean.
But like when it came to like, I don't know, typically if you're the age of watching these movies, you're watching like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King and stuff. Like that's just kind of what we were raised on.
Right.
And so then you kind of graduate around like 9-10 years old, like when this came out in 2005. You graduate to these live action movies that are holding your attention, but there's no cartoons in them, which is kind of a challenge, I think, as a kid who only ever watches cartoons.
To teach you attention span?
Yeah, to like pay attention to a long form movie where there is no colorful cartoon animal or anything to kind of keep your attention, and you have to pay attention to this plot, and you fall in love with other things in movies that then when you do graduate even further into like actual movies, you know, you already kind of have these movies as a foundation for appreciating things and being able to pay attention to like true cinema.
But how do you explain my want to have my phone out in the movie theater because I can't handle just having one screen at a time now?
Well, that is the fault of the technological megacorps who we are hoping will be sponsors for this show.
Woof.
Yeah. But I don't know. So I think these are just interesting. I don't know if parents are like letting kids watch these today. I know they're technically still making Disney Channel movies and stuff, but like our cutoff when we were looking at which ones to look at was like 2009.
Yeah.
Or so.
Pre-2010.
Yeah, it's about when like we just aged out of them. ourselves. So, but I think they are still good, and I feel like I had some good lessons from some of these, and I have a nostalgia for them. I have an appreciation for them, and I think like I said, the whole premise of these movies to me is like I think they're good, just kids first live action movies, and in that sense, I think they served a pretty good purpose for us growing up. But let's get into it. Let's get into this actual movie.
So this one is your pick.
This is my pick.
So you get to drive this conversation. I'm just going to chill over here with my gummy worms.
Great.
And interject when I want.
Sure. So now you see it. This was 2005, directed by Duane Dunham, who I was reading his IMDb thing. He directed a few other Disney Channel movies, including the original Halloween Town.
Oh, okay.
I think Double Teamed, 13th Year, a couple other ones. But the big standout to me for him is that he was also an editor on Twin Peaks back in the 90s, which I don't know if you know anything about Twin Peaks.
Nope.
Ash. Very great television series. One of my favorites.
I know about the restaurant.
That is different.
That's a very different vibe, I think.
Very different vibe.
I really enjoy... Actually, I've never been in one. Continue.
The decor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Twin Peaks is a great series from the 90s, very foundational cornerstone of like television history. I could sit here and rant about it forever. I won't, so I'll just tell the listener and you, check out Twin Peaks. Very cool. So very cool. This guy was an editor on it. I think that's an interesting just bit of his resume. So he's an impressive guy, I guess. He worked on Star Wars too, back in like the 80s and stuff. So
That's cool.
Yeah. So he's got a good little.
He's got range.
Yeah, he's got range, resume, and then he's making these Disney Channel movies. So cool guy.
He does make this one feel a little bit elevated as a Disney Channel movie. I did want to note that. It is in my notes. Mm-hmm. It's just like the transitions, the shots, the weird camera angles. Like he did a little bit more than what I expected to see of a Disney Channel movie. I expected just your standard shots. I expected really no transitions whatsoever. And we've got some like cool...
Even the plot itself,
kitschy things.
Yeah, as we're talking about our 3 Ps by which we're measuring our plot, our production, our performances and stuff. Even the plot is like a little more intriguey than like the usual Disney Channel movie, which is like about friendship or forgiveness or whatever. You know, it's kind of, those always have like a veneer of a lesson over them, you know? Mm-hmm. And this one, if anything, that lesson feels a little forced.
Yeah.
And it's the more intriguey, mystical plot of it is kind of the more driving force in this. That is, again, a little more elevated than the average Disney Channel movie. Yeah. I think. Again, I'm trying not to be super biased for this one. It is not nearly as cool as I remember it being.
But I think as a kid, it would have been.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. I think as a kid, because the whole conceit of this show, of this movie, is the premise is we have Ali Mishawka of Ali and AJ fame, who was also on Phil of the Future at this time, which I don't know if you ever watched that one at all.
I forgot about that show.
Great, yeah, also very underrated original Disney Channel show. But she's like a kid TV producer. She's somehow like signed up to be this producer for a television show of the world's greatest kid magician, to where they're going to travel the country, find some kid magicians to compete to figure out who's going to be the best one. Which okay.
Right.
Like it's an interesting, I think this premise also kind of hits with us because we were like film students. So
yeah, we at some point, I mean, we were walking around high school campus as like, freshmen, sophomores
for 4 years, really. Like all 4 years we were there, we were doing stuff.
Those like point and shoot cameras.
Right. Just finding shit to shoot, basically.
And like trying to make news segments, I mean, I don't know if you recall this, but I remember this very clearly. You had me stand in like the courtyard or something, and do a sports report. They're like, "You like sports, you can do this." But it was all nonsense sports. I was like doing the Quidditch thing. I didn't even know what Quidditch was.
I don't remember this at all.
This was 100% you.
Okay. No, it sounds like it.
You wrote the script. It was Quidditch. It was something else. The only one that I remember distinctly is Quidditch, though, because I was like, "What in the hell is Quidditch? I don't know what this is." Again, at that point, I had not watched Harry Potter yet.
Right.
But anyhow, I felt, and I said this to you during, I felt like I was Cedric a lot. I wasn't necessarily behind the camera and like lugging the camera around, but I was like, you had like the big ideas.
Yeah, I've never been the tech guy. Like I'm just like, let's just do the thing. You shoot it, you edit it,
You
Yeah.
figure it out. And
I'm
like,
editing this, but other than that, And
then every once in a while, you needed me to be in front of the camera, and you'd be like, "Say this," and I'm like, "Oh, all right,
yeah.
okay."
I just pointed at people and be like, "You're acting now."
Why did we let you get away with that?
Force of personality, I guess. I'm the Ali Mishalka of this thing. I'm driving the plot of it.
I will say I'm very thankful you are not as intense as Ali Mishalka was in this. The first thing that I have written down is that she's obsessive.
She is very go-getter Disney girl in this. That is the persona they've slapped onto her, which I feel like we've seen.
They were trying to crank out. I don't know if they were trying to crank out or they were just trying to identify with. I'm not sure the thought process behind it. But regardless, what ended up coming out was the gifted kid.
Mildly spectrumed gifted kid, almost even.
Yes.
She has a little bit of it.
And it's like, and it sort of glorifies it to a certain extent of like, this is who you want to be. This is who you should be, whatever.
Right.
It feels very hardcore driven into this.
Yeah. Well, that kind of goes into the idea that like there is a forcedness to like the Disney Channel elements in this are the things that feel like the most off. Is like there almost is like a more interesting movie buried under this that is like that has this color thrown on top of it of like she's the Disney Channel go-getter girl who's like a little intense. And there's a little message about friendship in here, and there's little things like that where it's like if you
about friendship,
like if you toned all that down, like you'd actually have a kind of interesting movie going here, and you still do, but it's it's
well, I mean, 8 years later they make Now You See Me, which is kind of the same premise.
Right, not to be confused at all with Now You See Me, which I think is very different, but that has definitely like overshadowed this in the zeitgeist for sure.
It is, but I feel if we did not have this as kids, because if you think about this, at this point Disney Channel was catering to
more teens and tweens and
more
stuff.
Teens
yeah,
and
we were growing
tweens.
up. Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily for like you and me, who at this time were like maybe 5 or 6, or
we were
8,
closer to like 9, like 8 or 9,
8 or
10.
9. Whereas the folks who this was actually catered for, they were like maybe 15, 16, about to be adults, or maybe 13 to.
Well, they're
15.
teens. It's like they're teen producers and stuff.
Right, and then you turn around, you wait 8 years for these people to be adults, and they turn around and make Now You See Me. You see what I mean?
Well, I see what
I
you
don't know that's a direct one-to-one transfer, but
it's I definitely, for my brother at least. My brother, after we saw this movie as kids, like probably for like the next several years, he would have like a month-long phase where like he would get into magic again, and he would like start doing magic tricks. I never.
that's the cutest thing
Yeah,
ever.
I didn't have like the bandwidth to like learn magic, but but for certain this was a movie that was like some kids like first foray into stage magic and like being like, oh cool, I'm gonna learn how to do that trick. And he did learn how to do the trick where he throws the cards at the window and the card appears outside the window.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he still knows how to do it whenever we have him on here at some point. But so I see what you mean in the sense like this is like baby's first magic movie.
Right.
So down the line you get, which we don't see a whole lot. Like I guess there was The Prestige, directed by Chris Nolan, somewhere in between this and like Now You See Me and stuff. But anyway, but getting to the plot of this, it opens on this framing device of Allison, who's kind of our protagonist. Which the first thing that stuck out to me watching this was I cannot decide how necessary or how much I like this framing device, because it's basically her in her bedroom narrating the movie, and it cuts back to her several times, and she's narrating, and she does a good job narrating it.
I mean, is that not what we're doing now, though? Like, I mean,
just recapping it. yeah.
I mean,
right.
but also, I feel like that was very reminiscent of the time too, of like movie styles, of like. It's somebody post-mortem giving you like
dissecting it and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it works. It works in the sense that I like her narration, because I think it does kind of work for her character, because it is that intense kind of like she likes a narrative. She likes telling a story. Like that is kind of, she's a producer, so that it works. But I think the way it's shot is almost like there's someone in the room with her filming it.
Yes.
Almost like a vlog. But then is that Cedric? Is that the camera? Cedric is her camera guy. We'll get to him in a minute. But the way it's shot kind of suggests, and there's a lot of this in the movie, which is another thing, is so much of this is shot in a way that suggests that it is being shot as a like a found footage film.
Right.
Which is actually a very cool concept.
Yes.
It makes me wish that like they fully committed to it almost and made the entire movie that way as like a found footage kind of like this whole movie is just her tapes from the show, and there's no detachment from that.
But if you do that, you don't get the overarching POV, and that's a lot spookier for your child audience.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. I'm almost seeing the version of this where it is like Disney Channel's version of Blair Witch, where it's,
Yoinks.
which would be awful. But I'm like, it's an interesting concept that they play with, and as a kid, you don't really notice it. As an adult, you notice it just enough to notice they didn't fully commit to it.
Right.
Which is,
the one thing I did notice about her narration scenes was that her webcam is on, and it's up on her computer
POVs
screen behind her.
Yeah.
So you get two POVs of her, but it's a weird angle where it's like
she's
to
clearly
the side
talking
of
to
her,
someone.
She's talking to, and it cuts off just where you would see the person that she's talking to, or you would see the camera that she's talking to. You can't ever see it, and it's just a very weird. It's a very weird angle, but it does add to the intrigue of the narration.
It puts you in a position where you literally are, as the audience, the one that she's talking to. You're in the bedroom with her, I guess, hearing her tell you this. But again, I'm almost imagining just like the diegetic version where it's just her talking to a webcam. Yeah. And like if that wouldn't be a little more straightforward than this.
It's a little more paranormal activity then.
Yeah. But anyway, it's an interesting choice to use this framing device. I think as a narration it works, but it's a little half-baked. And the whole movie is this way whenever it does do these bits where it flashes to what is supposed to be the POV of the cameraman following her around and stuff. Where I almost even wish they threw like a lens whenever it cuts to those kind of shots.
I see.
Over it, where it shows like the recording button in the corner or the date and time and stuff like that to kind of communicate better. Because that I don't think would throw a kid off super, you know what I mean? To the point where they wouldn't understand that like, oh, this is the POV of the camera. If anything, I think, that's not a huge change you could make that would confuse a kid.
Right.
But I think it confuses, as an adult, I'm like, okay, we're in the camera now. Cool. Okay, now we're not in the camera shot. Okay. Yeah, it just goes back and forth in a way that is not super smooth that I think is so interesting.
Well, I also think it speaks to the fact that at that time, vlogging was becoming a thing. It's very new, and it's not something that had ever been done before. And so for producers who are adults, who aren't kids, who aren't evolving with the technology in that sense, or like growing with the technology in that sense, it's hard. Like now we can because we grew up in that technology, and we probably could even then, to a certain extent, think it through. But to them, it's all new technology that they're having to learn after having their brains fully developed.
Right.
Which is not a criticism. It's just it was so brand new that maybe it just was hard to conceptualize.
Well, and you see it too with you see when this movie was made and the fact that she's still using like VHS tapes to film everything, and she has a webcam in her thing. So it's this weird between phase where neither technology has evolved or died out yet.
Right.
So it's definitely of the time in a way that we talked about how the oceans aren't super dated. This one is from the fashion, from the 2000s technology,
the layers,
the Disney Channel layers. They put those girls in. Oh my goodness, it's great. But anyway, we open her on this weird framing device. We cut to her. She's talking about how this mysterious thing has happened. The greatest kid magician reality show has taken off. We see her know-it-all establishing character moment when they have all these interns or whatever it is, all these teens gathered.
I want to say that is probably the most relatable scene in this movie. Is like you either were the know-it-all kid who knew everything,
or you were annoyed all hell from them. Or
you knew exactly who that person would have been in your classroom.
Oh, yeah. It's like an Umbridge situation where you're like, I know that person.
Yeah.
I have a memory of this specific person.
This specific human.
Yeah.
I did want to point out that she was not into. So she gets into like the secret message hidden in the ad, and that's how she became one of the
we're
producers
introduced to like the producer lady in charge of this, and who we will later find out is our main villain, Mystic Max, played by Frank Langella, who I'll mention too is a real actor. Like he's not like a Disney Channel actor. Like he is he is an actual, like he's won Tony Awards. He was nominated for an Oscar.
His first thing that comes up on Wikipedia for his film or for his credits is theater.
Yeah, he's
and
a big stage actor.
Yeah, it's more,
which is more respectable than
Yes.
film acting to me anyway. I think that's harder because you have to stay in it the whole freaking time, you know.
And then you go for as long as the show is. You don't. It's not a one and done thing where you like shoot it.
Yeah.
one
You're
time.
doing it for months on end. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Weeks on at least. So his big movie that in the past couple of years is Frost Nixon, where he played Nixon, which is like and that was nominated. That was like the year of like Dark Knight.
I don't see how he would look like Nixon.
They do a pretty good little makeup job on him. In the
But
thing.
again, I wouldn't know
But he
how
played
Christian Bale would look like Dick Cheney.
Right. Oh, we need to do Vice at some point. Great movie, Vice. Love it. But he played that on stage too. So anyway, but it's interesting to see him, and he's putting in a good, like he's fully committed to this movie. You know? Like he is fully into this. So good casting.
I will say his facial acting and the micro facial expressions that he gives us, on point. Very big fan. First thing I noticed, because I basically watched this with you just now, as though it was the first time, which it pretty much was.
Yeah, you have no.
I have no.
If you ever saw this one, you don't
I
remember
don't recall.
It. Yeah.
So I was trying to look for things that, like, as a kid, I might not have noticed or whatever. His face in almost every scene is one of those things.
Yeah, just always lurking in the background, and he does a good job of balancing this. Like you can't quite he's so mysterious as a magician that you can't decide if he is a villain or not until it is revealed, and we'll get to that. And now I think that's kind of not quite as well done, but yeah. But we have Allison's little know-it-all scene here where she cracks his little secret code, and then they send them off to go do this search for the kid magician. We get the great montage. She's joined by her producer mentor Paul, who will be more important than he should be.
Yes.
And your favorite character, Cedric. Her cameraman.
It's just he just was so.
Yeah.
He was so relatable in every scene. He's like, I want you guys to know I'm really, really claustrophobic.
Yeah, he's like the Shaggy of this movie. Like, again, just a good kid actor, I think, who knew exactly what his role was. He was like, I'm just the dorky sidekick, and I'm gonna go full hog into it.
He was like, I'm just a girl.
Wow. Yeah.
But he just was. He was just a scaredy boy.
So the three of them go off on this adventure across America. They have a fun little montage of like watching a bunch of other kid magicians fail, those poor actors who have to just suck for 5 minutes.
Not even 5. It was more like 30 seconds.
And there's some good comedy here again for a kids show. Like it's a little slapsticky and stuff, but and I think Allison does a good job of like selling her disdain for this whole thing.
Yes.
Culminates in our meeting our protagonist, Danny Sinclair.
Yes.
Who is a broody little Adam Lambert-looking kiddo. Who's also very male 2000s, where he's got like the little fringe cut, his little like not quite puka shell necklace.
It's not quite shaggy yet, but it's also not clean.
Right, yeah, it's like it's sticking up and sticking out. It's a weird little. Anyway, so he's
the messy look.
Very, very like Chris Angel, goth magician of the time too. You know what I mean? You remember that?
Nope.
You know who Chris Angel is?
Nope.
Okay. Well, look him up. He was a goth magician-y looking guy. He did like escape acts. He was the edgy magician of like the late 2000s.
He's not like
and
other
stuff.
Magicians.
Exactly. Yeah, he's not like other. That's the thing.
This whole thing is so pick me.
Yeah. So you're looking him up. Do you remember? You kind of have a memory of him.
Yes.
Yeah. But you're right. This is a very pick-me interaction that even they have in this meeting moment where they're like.
Well, I noted too that he is equally as intense as she is.
Yeah.
And he says to her at one point, like, back off and let me do this. And he gets really like, now in this day and age, it's very anger management issues. And certainly like
You're just diagnosing both of them.
like, well, yeah, they both needed to go. And then but he like he certainly he gets really intense, like he's actually going to do something afterwards, and it's like, no, you're not. You're maybe 13 years old. You're a white boy in a bedroom with perfectly normal parents. Shut up. You have no struggle here, my guy. Like,
This is they later have this kind of is like their first real conversation where like they both kind of like, they're like, we need each other for this to work or whatever. But later on they have another conversation.
The power of friendship. I appreciate that, I guess.
They both have this like loner chip on their shoulder where they're like the weird kid and they're just different and they're just not like other kids.
I don't like this, this is something. It's not really as harsh in this one, but it does come across in a lot of like the Disney Channel movies. I do really dislike the like, I'm just a freak. I'm just a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here?
The Radiohead of it all. Yeah.
But like the emo-ness of it,
has had like a negative impact.
I think it's just overshadowed the kids who genuinely do feel that way. I think it subtracts from it almost.
Well, it's always attractive kids saying this in these movies.
You're
and in these
conventionally
shows
attractive.
Too.
You're fine.
Yeah, it's super cute. Ali Mishalka, who I've forgotten how much of a crush I had on her at 10 years old when I watched
How
this movie.
did you forget?
I
never forgot.
Ashley Tisdale has been the one that's like stuck with me forever. Like she was my first celebrity crush ever. So and again, like you kind of forget about Phil of the Future. You kind of forget about this movie.
I guess I did forget about Phil.
I like Ali and AJ.
Forget about her.
I like their music, but she's
Unpopular opinion. I thought AJ was hotter.
I can see that. That's a fair opinion. I wouldn't call that unpopular. I'd call it egalitarian.
I'm not like other girls.
But they're cute is the point. Is like this is like a cute little boy and she's a pretty girl and it's like, okay, like right, you guys are weird. You guys are so different and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really hate this narrative that pop culture seemed to perpetuate with this sort of character. Because there was one in most Disney Channel things.
Yeah. Well, it was typically the protagonist.
Yeah.
They would say it would be the protagonist anyway.
Right. And it's like why can't they just be a person? Why do they have to have a complex? Why does there have to be some like, I understand that you need a struggle for them to grow from, I guess. Sure. Yeah. But like, why can't they just be a person? I don't know. Maybe they're more boring that way. I don't.
Yeah. Well, they never did portray like the popular or like the boring people as being particularly three-dimensional in any of the, like the rival characters and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to say we've gotten better at that as a society, but I don't know how the archetypes have changed over time. But
we certainly do not allow the pick-me energy as much anymore.
No. Yeah. There's definitely a lower tolerance for that. And it's a bit over this movie. It's definitely like another just color that's thrown all over this one. That's pretty palpable.
Yes.
But anyway, he does his trick, or he fails to do his trick. He tries to pop these balloons. Dove does not come out of the balloons. She gives up on it. They go outside. Our boy Paul here, her mentor, has the great line where she's like, "We're never gonna find anybody." And he's like, "Oh, sure we will." And he's like, "Do you really think so?" And what does he say? I wrote it down here. No, but as your mentor, I'm supposed to be encouraging. Which is a funnier line than this movie deserves, like,
it is.
Like
it is.
That's fantastic. They open the car door or whatever, and the doves come out of the car mysteriously.
Yes.
And they film it, and then they do this great pan shot up to Danny in the room doing this weird stank face. But anyway,
and she calls it out in her narration dissection.
She does, yeah. That like he should look happy. He's just one entry into this thing, but he looks scared.
Afraid for whatever
reason.
reason.
Fear, yeah. Which is there's little moments like that in her narration. I think why The narration's growing on me as we're talking about it because I think it does. She does like.
I
Set
love
the
how
tone.
you do this. I love how you start talking about something and you start off pretty negative on it. And then you talk yourself into liking it.
Yep.
I don't actually talk you into it.
No. Just
You do it by yourself.
Yeah, you start to, and then I'm like, oh, yeah. But yeah, so it is. So she has these little moments in there where it kind of adds to for a kid. I keep having to kind of add that caveat for a kids movie. This foreboding nature to the whole to the lead up to this thing.
But it's like a friendly foreboding as opposed to a hardcore foreboding.
Yeah. But so they take this stuff back to Max and the producers. He seems into it. And this is another bit of like actually pretty decent foreshadowing. Is he's like, "What do you think, Paul? What do you think of this kid, Paul? You were there." And then Paul's like, "I think he's the real deal, Max."
Ooh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, which if you're watching it for the first time, not to like, again, this is not a great big Ocean's 11 twist or anything, but Paul, we later find out, is a little minion of Max's.
Yes.
So Paul really is out on the search here looking for kids with real powers, as we find out. And in this moment, he's not just saying like, yeah, I think we should have the kid on the show, Max. He's telling Max, this is the guy. This is the real sorcerer that we need to get our hands on.
This is your mark.
This is our mark, yeah. So they're on the way to the competition. We're hitting about our halfway mark. If we want to break here and then get back, once we come back, we can actually get into the competition rolling on out. Do you want to do that?
I think I do. Oh, we have to talk about inside the bus on the way to the thing.
Yeah, well, so we'll end it on this because this is the first, I guess, kind of the other little allusion to Danny's true nature. Is, like I talked about earlier, the magic trick that blew my brother's mind as a kid is Allison is talking to Danny's ear off about, she has a great line here too, where she's like, you know what we should do? We should make it your thing, that at first you appear to be incompetent and then you pull something cool off. I don't know if you catch that line, but so I think that's funny too. Like there's some good little humor in here. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, girl. But then like one of the other kids starts to do a card trick to her. Brandon, who I hate, I think he's one of the other.
Why do you hate him?
He's just such a snobby little Draco Malfoy type character. But
his boyfriend is also a Draco
there's
Malfoy type character.
There's some boyfriends in this too, guys. Like, Ash and I are
Happy Pride.
Disney Channel summer, but yeah. But but he does a little card trick for her. Then Danny hijacks it and is like, "You pick a card now, man." And I like this interaction. This feels like two actual teens on a bus, like doing shit. You know what I mean? This feels like the most genuine, realistic interaction in the movie that doesn't have any Disney Channel.
Did you have somebody on your bus with a deck of cards?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like in middle school and stuff, you'd absolutely have like kids doing tricks or like.
I had kids on my bus with Beyblades.
Yeah, playing with Beyblades or like tech decks or just stuff.
True.
You just have random just guys being dudes on the bus. This is real guys being dudes on the bus activities right now. And so
Yeah, the one girl who with her head in a book. That was me.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I was always just asleep. I was just sleeping somewhere.
Early in the morning I was.
Taking a nap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, so he does his trick where Brandon, the other kid, picks a card. Danny throws the deck at the window, and the card materializes on the other side of the glass, which this was played in like the trailers for the movie too. That would like
really?
little promos, I think. So this was like the scene that like got you to watch it.
Well, it is a pretty cool scene.
It's a very cool trick. It's a cool scene. Like I said,
because you don't even realize the window's open until after that thing happens. Yeah,
like it again, the music kind of sets up this like foreboding sense to it. You know what I mean? Like it's the doves were interesting. I don't know. There's little things like this where I'm nostalgic about it, obviously, but I do think for a kids movie, to throw that caveat in there is an element of like, I don't know, like the buildup is good to like this. Now, I don't think the reveal itself that everything is actually magic at the end is very good, but like the build up to it is pretty satisfying. And it's colored in the sense with actual magic tricks. The fact that this is an actual trick you can learn how to do.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, because I wasn't very impressed with this Brandon kid when he tells her to pick a card?
Yeah, because he just jumps a card out of the deck, basically.
No, because he puts it right back on top. If you watch very carefully, like he just puts it, he doesn't shuffle the deck again. He just is like, and then he picks it back up and he's like, is this your card? I just watched you put it there. Yeah, it is my card.
I was reading, I believe a lot of the tricks they do in this one that aren't like Danny's like real magic things are actual tricks that they did train the kids to do and stuff.
That's kind of cool.
So they are actually doing most, I think, anyway, of the tricks in this thing. So that's definitely like a real thing that, yeah, obviously you're going to spot it.
Right.
You know, so.
True. I guess because it's a kid performing it.
Mm-hmm. But they pull it off all right.
For a kid's movie.
Yeah. Again, guys, thanks for tuning into the 4th episode of this podcast where we're talking a kid's movie. Now you see it, and now you will see or hear the rest of this episode
when we come back.
For my next trick,
God.
We're back.
We're back.
Keeping it themey today.
I didn't know.
I'm trying. Bippity boppity boop. We're back. All right. Bippity boppity back.
That's good.
All
I
right.
like that one.
Great. So we come back to them. They get off the bus. They're at the Magic Mansion.
Cue the Hogwarts music because
Right.
it really was.
There's
it
a
was
spooky
very reminiscent.
owl flies by. Like it's very like again like the movie does a decent job of like setting this kind of like not sinister but like fantastical tone as they pull up to this mansion and stuff. I can't decide if I like this set or not that they've drawn up. Of like it's just kind of a stage and some chairs and like you see some things in the background like they've got like the spinning wheel like you throw like a knife guy on and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So there's like some little props and stuff, but on the whole it kind of just looks like an empty warehouse that they threw those things into.
Well, the whole movie, all of the sets look like they're borrowed from other sets.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Apparently they shot a lot of this in like an abandoned bank in New Orleans. Which we can especially tell in a minute here when we get down to like the secret rooms and stuff like that.
Was it abandoned because of Katrina?
That probably tracks. Maybe
it was released in 2005.
It's possible that it was just like they just gave up on the building and repurposed it into this or something like that.
Wow.
But anyway, they pull in. They meet Max, who also has some fun, again, some sinister moments with Danny here where he just kind of homes in on him.
We figure out he's special from the jump because he tells everybody else that their hotel keys are in their pockets. Mm-hmm. If you check your pockets. And then Danny's, he specifically hands to him.
Yeah, he summons it out of thin air or whatever and then hands it to him.
And this is when we find out where Danny is from.
Yes. Oh, right. Yeah. So,
how did you forget?
I'm trying to kind of speed through this plot because again, it's not very deep.
Sorry to our listeners.
But it is right. So Danny has this moment. They're introducing all of our contestants. We've got, I think Zoe is her name.
Yes,
Zoe from like Philadelphia, and you have Brandon
from San Francisco,
somewhere.
California? He's from California.
Yeah, definitely a California kid. And then we meet Danny, who is from Pensacola,
Florida,
which is
we
where
assume.
Yeah,
there is also Pensacola, Oklahoma.
Yeah, but we are from Pensacola, Florida. Currently, where we're recording this from, which don't try and find us, please. But we are. But I think this was maybe subconsciously another reason why this is one of my favorites is because we get a little bit of a shout out. That's where our hero in this movie is from. As
a Pensacolian, there are a few movies where we get shout outs and it's usually in a military context. Thank you, Top Gun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe The Guardian. I feel like The Guardian. A-Team. Do you remember The Guardian with Ashton Kutcher?
Yes.
And I feel like I want to say we get a shout out in that one way or
Probably.
another.
But we never whenever we do get a shout out, it's never really a great thing. And it's never for what we're actually known for, which is the frickin' beach.
Yeah. It's typically aviation type stuff, which is fine. Though just which the other thing we're known for.
We do have the Naval Air Station down the street.
Yeah. We appreciate all our listeners that live over there. But,
yes.
But it's cool. But this is a cool shout out.
Well, as somebody who's not in the military.
Yeah, we don't, as civilians.
The planes are cool.
Yeah.
I really love them. I really want to be able to do a barrel roll one day. Mm-hmm. That's it, though.
Right, yeah.
But I would also like my hometown to be known for the things that my hometown is cool to me for.
Yeah, just other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a neat shout out. It's a cool shout out. But he gets his room key. He goes to his room. He and Allison have another argument where she's again trying to be like, so what? I'm working with you, bro. And he's like, well, I don't. You don't understand me. Like, there's just some things I need to do by myself.
And they have like this weird interaction in the doorway of his room, which, by the way, I don't know if you caught this. Their name
It's
of
the
his
Merlin
room.
Yeah, they have these little themed, which they don't play into very much, but it's a cute little thing.
It's just like a little looky-loo.
Little themey thing, yeah.
And then I have underneath that from the doorway scene
Yeah.
is that I can fix him.
Oh, right.
She never says it, but she says it.
Yeah, no, this is a weird, undecided. I think you and I disagree on this, on how we would want to play this. But there's an underlying, to me anyway, there's an underlying tension between these two. I think they should have kissed in here. I think this like had the potential.
Why do you want them to? Do you just want Allie to get kissed? Is that the thing?
I like her. Again, you have to. She's like 17 in this movie. I was 10 when I saw it. All right, so I'm looking at this through like 10-year-old boy. I'm like, ooh, pretty blonde girl. But
his tastes never evolve.
No, this is foundational.
There's a redhead in there every once in a while, but that's it.
But yeah,
strawberry blonde is where it's at.
But I think it plays into. It's true. But they plays into the happy medium, yeah. But I don't know, like it's tropey. They have all the tropes that work. Is that it's like, oh, broody guy and like intense girl. It just, I don't know. It feels like it's written.
I applaud
them not doing
Disney for not having her be his. Well, she is his love interest in the end, but like not having.
They don't really. They don't commit to it one way or the other, really.
But
I don't think that. I think
to have it be ambiguous where they could just be friends, I appreciate that.
You know what's funny? I was in the lead up to watching this. There's another promo. There's like 2 or so promos on this on YouTube, and one of them does emphasize that they're just friends. It's like it goes. You'll have to look it up on YouTube. I think it's like promo number 2 or something. Like look up now, you see it. Promo number 2, and it's like. Allison thought she was going to a reality show to find the best kid magician. What she actually found was a great friend. And it's very intentional that like they are friends. So take that for what you will. But I don't know. But I think it's tropey enough to where I feel like there could have been more and we could have gotten away with more. But I agree with you that I think it is bolder for them not to go in that direction.
Well, because it's so easy for most Disney Channel original movies to have some happily ever after love kiss thing.
Yeah.
And it's nice that that's not.
It's not
what this is.
No, and like it's not about a romance. It is more. I can't even say what this movie's about. It's not about anything ultimately. It's kind of just a movie. Like unfortunately, this one does not have a huge. Again, like the Disney Channel elements of like friendship are more forced than anything. In the end, it's just like kid can do cool magic. It's not, like there's not a whole lot of depth to it, really.
He's going to be a great sorcerer one day, we think.
Sure, right. Yeah, there's a bit of a sequel hook that doesn't go anywhere.
And maybe they were intending to have one and then didn't end up being able to make it happen for whatever reason.
Yeah. But anyway, they have this argument at the door. He slams her out. We pick up
kind of cleverly, actually. It's kind of funny.
Or no, he has the thing where he looks at the camera too, which again is a fun. Yeah, they have
looking at Cedric.
Yeah, he's like, who is this girl? He does this like Jim. He jims the camera for a second, which they should have done. And they do that actually.
You see Cedric kind of go, oh.
Yeah. Well, he's on his side. He's like, yeah. But they pick up the next morning with the first challenge where they've got to like throw together an improvised magic trick
with 5 items.
They got a basketball, a rope, an aquarium, a bed sheet, and a broom. We see the other kids are like, it's like a school project, like a science project, where they're gathered around, they're trying to make it work. We got to Danny, who's just brooding in the corner,
and she gets upset with him.
Yeah,
because he's brooding. Like she's like, "Can we see you do anything?"
They do this. They honestly, as we're talking about it, they have the same scene like 5 times in the movie where she's like, I just want to help you. And he's like, you can't. This is just...
No one can help me.
Yeah.
I'm in this all by myself.
They just keep arguing, which I guess...
And this is why I'm frustrated with this trope, is because...
We've been conditioned.
You are not as alone as you think you are.
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah. He's putting up a fight for like kind of no good reason.
Yeah.
But she's also like being more intense than she needs to be, also for no good reason.
She's scary, man. Honestly, if she like... You've not watched Gilmore Girls.
No.
But for the girlies and the those who have, it's Paris level intense. And I will just say that.
Okay.
Paris is this like schoolmate of Rory's, the main characters. She stays with her all through high school and college.
Yeah.
And even in the after series too. And she is just like, the only way I can describe her is probably like what you were in high school.
Like academic bully kind of type thing?
Yes. But also like in girl form and times 10.
Okay.
Do you remember how aggressively I wanted to be your friend?
Yes. Yeah.
Basically that academically.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so they do the trick. So they have a couple tricks here that they do. We got Zoe, who does like a pretty mediocre thing
With the basketball.
with the bat. She rotates a basketball.
The thing to note for this was that they can use just one of the items or all of them.
Yeah, but just those.
But you can only use those items.
Correct. Yeah. So Zoe does a thing where she like levitates the ball like around her body.
You can see the rope.
Pretty obviously with the rope. Again, going back to like the same thing with the card trick earlier, where they've got these kids really doing the tricks, but they're doing them about as good as kids can do. Zoe gets nothing to do. She is just there to be the third competitor, and that's
We needed a third competitor who was not a dude and who was not white.
And who she's white.
Well, I mean, not a white dude. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just another
So we got a white girl.
little check some boxes. We get Danny doing his second, where he doesn't know what he's gonna do. He just clumps them together and is like, they're gonna disappear. Like holds the sheet over. They don't disappear. Or no, before this, Hunter, who's like the rival producer, like douchey kid. He's got like the weird.
It's
little,
that era. He's your generic blonde kid with the frosted tips
Yes.
that spikes his hair.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
He's got the pullover sweater and the button up. Yeah, like he's just a douche.
Yeah, the douche.
So he and Brandon both have this thing where they don't quite curse later on to like set up Danny's literal magic trick, where he's like, you don't stand a snowball's chance in you know where of making all that disappear.
Oh, yeah.
Which is surprisingly edgy for Disney, we'll say.
Is it?
I think so. Like, you know where is already pretty elusive to you know where. So, so they set him up for two.
No, I don't know where. Where?
HE double hockey sticks, Ashley. Don't make me say any more than that, please.
He said the HE double hockey stick word.
No. Don't send me down to the office, please.
We regress so quick.
But so Danny is like, screw you. Does the trick. He lets the thing fall, and it's full. The aquarium is full of snow, and like the broom is sticking out of it, and it's spinning the ball around by the rope. It's like a random ass contraption thing.
No, it's the. Did you ever play that game like tetherball?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it is kind of doing a tetherball thing. You're right. And everyone is initially impressed, but then like they get him out on a technicality because technically snow is not one of the items.
Right.
So they kind of genie roll him away from bumping his score down, basically. Then we get Brandon, the other douche, the other one of the boyfriends. He and Hunter are close. He and Hunter are good pals. They get up there.
Right, yeah, because everybody's just friends.
Everyone's just friends in this movie. Maybe let's ship them maybe a little harder.
I ship them harder than anybody else in this movie. I'll tell you that.
Sure. But yeah, so Brandon gets up to do his trick, and which is, I forget even what his trick is going to be. We don't even really see what it is going to be, but he just holds a sheet up.
Yeah, no, because he just asks that Danny help him out as an assistant, and Danny points out like, I'm not part of the five items.
Yeah, he kind of like bites back a little bit, but then he makes Danny seemingly make Brandon disappear. He pops up on like a spinning wheel where you throw knives at,
and he's laughing maniacally.
Yeah, it seems like he's screaming at first, and then he goes into Joker mode and starts laughing.
Now that you're saying it like that, most psychopaths think that screaming and laughing are synonymous.
Do you think I'm a psychopath?
No. No.
Because they sound the same to me?
No, I think it's just more indicative of like what Max is because of the way that like Max immediately knows because the camera cuts to Max, a shot of Max
who looks impressed by the whole thing. Yeah.
Sitting on his little throne, which also he consistently looks like he is better than everybody else because he's presiding from his little throne.
He's elevated, yeah.
Yeah, and he's always set apart, too.
Well, he's like the judge and host of this show is the idea.
Oh, well, I mean, regardless, he still looks pretentious as hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's sitting there, and you see him do a little like smirk and like eyebrow raise to Danny. And I wrote down, organizer dude knows. That's what I wrote down.
Oh, Paul?
No.
Oh, Max.
Max
Oh,
knows.
okay.
Max knows something. I didn't know what, but he knows something. And then you cut back to Brandon, and it is him like initially screaming, and like you get the smirk before you realize that he started laughing maniacally. And it's very dark.
Yeah, well, yeah, this whole scene...
There's a very dark tone to that, if you like dig it.
You're right. Well, even the music is kind of this chaotic, kind of like carnival-y type thing kind of sets in here.
Yes.
And Danny does not seem like... He seems perturbed by this.
He's very fearful of it. He's not sure how it happened, and it's very clear on his face that he's in like much with the doves, where he just has this weird fearful look on his face.
Right. And I like these moments in this movie where it's like something kind of cool and magic-y happens, but it's not, there's no triumph in it. It's just like, that was weird. There's a weird, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I think it does a good job of just the way it's shot and like these facial exchanges that like Max and Danny have, and the music and the chaotic nature of it is, I think it sets the tone of, I don't even know how I'd put it. I don't know. It's good.
It's good. It is good.
We cut then to the next night this night.
Yeah, Allison, the intent one, is like going, like trying to find a trap door or something to how Danny did it. And Cedric, the
scaredy cat sidekick.
Yep. The Shaggy is like, should we even be doing this?
Yeah.
And then you cut to the boyfriends coming too.
Yes,
to also figure out how it happened.
Because they clearly don't. And I like her line here. She's like, just inspecting the floorboards. Pretty nice craftsmanship out here. What are you doing here? She's fun. Like she does kind of have to carry this movie.
And I really think it's more of a tribute. Woof. I don't know how I can't say words right now.
Yeah.
I do think it is more of a tribute to Ally Michalka as an actress. That's just, I really genuinely think that was just like her personality coming through, of like of her,
with how intense her character is, and like in the Disney channelification of it all.
Right.
Like she does a good way of selling it without it feeling like, watching this did not feel super duper cringe.
Yeah.
As much as I think maybe one of the others we could have picked would.
Yeah.
So there's still a groundedness, as fantastical as it gets later on.
It's pretty self-aware that it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think she brings some levity to that.
Well, and I think it's like you said earlier, where like everybody knows like a chick they knew in class who was like this. You know what I mean? It's like is it exaggerated? Yes. Not that exaggerated.
No.
Not so exaggerated that it does become cringy, that it does become like super outlandish and be like, okay, this is such a TV.
This is trying too hard.
Yeah.
I didn't have that thought.
And she has funny little lines like that peppered in. Where like, oh, she's actually she has some snark to her. That's fun.
She's had snark to her from the beginning.
Oh, for sure. So we get to the second challenge, where they're each assigned. Max assigns them each a famous magician of old to do one of their tricks, to research them and do some of their tricks. So he assigns, who is it, Alexander Herman to Zoe. He assigns Harry Blackstone to Brandon. And he, of course, assigns who else? Houdini.
Harry Houdini.
To our boy Danny.
Yes. Oh, I did want to point out in the beginning when we were talking about the message in the ad. Mm-hmm. She brings up Antonio DeMilo.
Yes, yeah. There's actually a bit of lore. So they reference and Max references that I think when they come into the mansion for this first time, is that this mansion used to belong to his mentor
Antonio
DeMilo, who is another magician who has since died and moved on. But he trained Max and he owned this mansion.
Completely fictional person, by the way.
Yeah, I thought it might be a real guy for a second too. The way that the movie, it does set itself just enough in reality where it references these actual magicians and stuff, and it is using real magic tricks and stuff. So it's almost, which is another kind of thing. As I was watching, I was like, I almost kind of wish we did just get a movie about stage magicians. I wish almost we didn't bring any of these fantasy elements into it, and there was just another movie that was like, oh, isn't stage magic cool? Let's see kids just do actual tricks, and there's no Disney magic in it. but of course there's got to be. So
Yeah.
but I'll say this, as we're kind of building up to the reveal here, the movie I think does a good job of keeping it ambiguous as to whether there is real magic at play or not.
Yes.
There is that like sense of dread that kind of builds up about it, but there's always, I think, enough of a logical explanation you can somehow make, or that, it keeps whatever that logical explanation might be just out of sight, but you're like, well, surely maybe there is one.
Right.
So that when it is revealed that it is all real, it is, I still don't think it's the best reveal ever, but it's still a surprise, I guess, that it's real. But so we see them all training for their second trick, but we meet Danny in the library who's poring over all these books. Allison finds him and he's like, oh, you're studying. And he's like, no, I'm here to find the secrets of the Magic Mansion, which, like, I don't understand his quest here. They don't explain this well at all about, like, what he hoped to find here. He has no reason to believe that.
He wanted.
Sure.
This was my first watch, and you don't know.
I don't know.
He was trying to find the answers to himself. He was trying to figure out why
Sure.
it was that he had, and he thought for sure that Antonio DeMilo would have had something in his library to have like the actual like black magic stuff, which they can't say because it's a Disney movie.
Okay.
Can't curse, man. It's a Disney film.
Right. Snowball's chance, and you know where.
But he's trying to find answers to himself.
But what reason does he have? The movie never sets up the idea that, like, Antonio DeMilo, until it's revealed later that he would have been a real magician. I feel like there's
yes,
no...
it does. It does in the beginning when we're talking about the poster.
Mm-hmm.
When she's explaining how she came to the audition. And then she also talks about, or Max also talks about it when they first get there.
They talk about, like, the mansion has many secrets and stuff
right,
like that.
Right, and so he wants to know what the secrets of the mansion are, and he wants the secret books to know. It's similar to Doctor Strange of, like, trying to read through what sorcery he has.
Yeah.
Because he says to her when he's auditioning with the balloons, he says to her, this is my last chance, too.
Okay.
Y'all are my last hope. Because she says, you're my last hope. And he goes, you're my last hope.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess so. I guess, like, if I'm, as a kid, I'm, like, in...
You got to follow the brood.
Yeah, right. It's like, surely this is a real magic mansion that I'm trying to get into. And maybe he thinks that there is more to it than just
well, that's what he does. And that's why they start putting together these books to figure out where the actual library is.
Right. So we see this is her other characterization that I think is kind of like, is more of a tell and don't show kind of thing. Is that she is a master puzzle solver, is what she calls herself.
Allegedly.
Yeah, it's a very alleged character trait. And it's like,
I mean, we see bits of it with her solving the ad and stuff.
Yeah, well, we see her do it, but I don't know what that has to do with her passion to be a TV producer.
Oh.
Those two traits feel so disconnected from each other.
Well, she's multifaceted.
I guess. It's why I almost want to cut the TV producing, the reality TV aspect of it out entirely and just make her
a puzzle solver?
Or just another magician candidate, and they're all here for some other just magic camp.
No.
Or something. I don't know. Like, it's, it's a weird angle where she's a good puzzle solver, and, like, that's so important. That's like, is she? What does that have to do with her being a producer? What does that have to do with a reality TV show? It has nothing to do with anything other than to, like, serve the plot in this moment.
Well,
and
it
later
also
on, I
serves
guess.
to give her some dimension because he ends up saying to her, "Allison, you're brilliant." She goes, "Thanks
Thanks
you for
noticing."
noticing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that she solves a little thing with the books. They find like a secret symbol. They grab Cedric.
Poor Cedric.
They have a great Scooby-Doo, and this thing is cool. This is again Disney's Blair Witch, where they're in the catacombs of this what is actually a bank. Again, remember this is filmed on a bank, and this is where you can really tell is because these
the vault.
Yeah, we get to the vault, but even the staircases are just like staircases in a building. Like they're not like cool mansion-y stairs. They're not Hogwarts-looking castle-y staircases.
That's
you know what I
true.
mean? Like this is clearly just a back room of whatever building they could shoot in. Same thing with the hallways. It's super dark. But like this is a good moment where like it is dark and like it's not lit in any way. Like we're seeing it kind of from the camera's perspective of following him in the dark here. But yeah, they stumble on a vault that has the symbol on it, or a little door panel on the wall or whatever that has a symbol on it. They turn the symbol because they have to turn the pages of the book.
Oh,
And the
it's
book
not
isn't a
empty
thing.
because of Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina postdates the release of this.
Interesting.
Weird. So then why
But-
was it abandoned?
I don't know. It was just an older building, it looks like.
True.
So they break into like DeMilo's secret room, which is just a bank vault. Like this is just a room full of like security deposit boxes.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Which I think is if you know that it's a bank, makes this very funny. That like, oh, this is his secret magician room. It's like, no, that is just an ancient bank. That is just an ancient bank vault.
I didn't question it.
That
actually.
you've right. No, if you don't know, you're like, oh, cool. What an interesting room. It's got candles
I
and a
did
big
ask,
book.
why are there so many candles?
Yeah, they've set dressed it as best they could to like give it the vibe of being like a magician's chamber, but it is just a bank.
It's a low budget film.
Yeah, right. Great for again, good vibe for a kids movie. So they're dicking around there for a minute. Cedric teleports them out. He turns another little like knob on the thing, and then they spam out back to the library. And then the movie just drops that whole plot for a second. It's like, all right, hope you're ready for the next challenge.
Well, no, but then you cut to Paul like creeping on them coming out of it.
Yeah. Oh, well, he was creeping too earlier when they were looking at the floorboards and stuff too.
Yep.
So Paul is set up again to be a little bit of a
Yeah, you
side
see
villain
Paul in the shadows, just as conspicuously as Talor.
here. Right. Yeah, he's the Tulor of these movies. I give this movie, I guess. But Paul.
He's weird, man.
He is
so weird.
Yeah, he's a weird adult. I don't like him. He's just as tall as the kids and stuff, you know.
And they do set him up to be the villain. Mm-hmm. Even though.
Yeah, we talked about like there actually is some like halfway decent kind of foreshadowing with him. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we cut to now. So that whole like the secret room quest is like a quick little side quest that kind of doesn't really go anywhere. Like he doesn't learn anything
No.
from doing all that. So
Other than that there is a secret room to hide
yeah,
in.
right. It's a good vibe as a kid. You're like, oh, cool. Like this is the part of the
Please
movie.
be a secret door. Yay.
Like this is the part of the movie I remember liking a lot as a kid. It was that like, oh man, like it's some Scooby-Doo shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Where we're like, oh, we're going around the Magic Mansion and there's
Complete
like,
with the Shaggy going, I'm really,
Yeah, I'm
really,
really
really
scared."
claustrophobic.
so, but then it doesn't go anywhere, and it's just kind of okay, all right then.
It was there for style points.
It was there for vibes. It's kind of a vibe only thing. But we cut to the second challenge, which everybody does their trick. Zoe pulls some rabbits out of a hat. It's cool.
Can we talk about the ginormous bunny she pulls out of her hat?
Pulls it. There's a good little sight gag there where she pulls like a little bunny, medium bunny, big bunny.
Big bunny.
And they got, she really did that, apparently, I guess. But then they got Brandon does his little light bulb trick. He like levitates a light bulb. That's like cool, I guess.
On some fishing line.
Right, yeah, pretty obvious.
The way it swings.
She does that, and then the way it swings, or he does that. And then Danny does his, which is Houdini's disappearing elephant trick, which is a very cool historical thing, actually. But he does that. He has, I guess,
The boyfriends were the elephant.
yeah, he has the boyfriends in a little two elephant thing. But then Brandon says, again, Disney's not cursing.
The blondie was the bottom. I want to point that out.
What do you know?
I shipped them so hard.
Ooh, good observation, Ash. But he says like, I might look like an elephant, but I feel like a horse's behind. Not horse's ass, because this is Disney. Horse's behind. They're still like towing the line here. I'm like, these are pretty, for Disney, edgy little lines. That, and again, the funny thing too, this is the setup for Danny's literalism, like influenced magic.
That is true.
Like these not curses are important pieces of dialogue
Actually, yeah, because those are the ones that goad him into being.
that set him up to do the thing. Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting that like those are the ones that like in the writing?
It's because this kid gets under his skin.
Instead of disappearing or whatever, the elephant, quote, Brandon and Hunter, are materialized on a mechanical bull that's going haywire. Again, the chaos, and this one is a little more dready than the other one, is because like they almost get hurt and stuff. So then everybody's mad at him. Everybody's pissed off at Danny.
They turn real quick.
They turn real quick on him. It's like, he needs to go off the show. Hunter is convinced that like he's real, that this magic is real. And they're like, you sounded like an idiot. Allie's like, you're an idiot. What are you? Sure it's real, whatever.
Right.
But eventually he's kind of bullied into being like, you're right. I don't know how this happens. It just happens to me, guys. Which is crazy that he's just saying this in front of everybody. You know?
For somebody who was so very broody about it from the get,
Right.
it's a very quick flip.
Yeah. But then Max decides like, well, let's put it to the test. We'll bring some skeptic friends of mine. I'm president of the Skeptic Society, and we'll determine whether or not
He's
you're
president
real.
of the Worldwide Skeptic
Worldwide.
Society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a real thing. He does illustrate that like it is a kind of a tradition in the magic community to like call out fake psychics and stuff like that. So that is, again, there's some groundedness to some of this magic stuff. And so then we cut to
The society.
well, before that, we have the heartfelt kind of scene of the whole movie where like Danny and Allison are in the she finds him in the secret room brooding, and he relays this backstory to her where he's like, I'm a freak, you know, I say things and they happen. I don't know.
I started singing.
You started singing Creep.
as I'm a freak.
Yeah.
I'm a weirdo.
This is the same thing with the puzzle thing with her, where like we don't see him like at school ever, like being a freak and being ostracized.
We don't see her either being
right, yeah, being the other girl.
But also, she continues the lyric by saying, "I'm a weirdo."
Yeah.
And not very much long after.
Again, they have this weird relating moment where she's like, maybe what you really need is just someone to believe in you. And he's like, and that someone is you. And this is when they should have kissed Ashley, but they don't because
they don't need to kiss. Why do they need to kiss? Why can't they just be friends?
It's fine. It's good. It works. Okay, but yeah, no, they have this like I'm not like other people moment.
Maybe we are just two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because we're best friends.
But this is a good, well done scene. I think they both have like a. I don't know, performance-wise, if we're talking performance,
Okay.
is that I think they sell this about as well as you can sell it for being the most Disney Channel-ish scene in the movie. Like, yeah, this is definitely, yeah, this is like, we need a scene about friendship and about like what this movie's actually about. And the director's like, it's about cool-ass fucking magic, but sure, okay. Like, I'll throw a scene in the middle here where like they're pals or whatever.
Well, the ambiguity of the scene, too, also tells you that, like, maybe the directors weren't fully committed to the friendship aspect thing.
That's what I'm saying is, yeah, like there's room for romance.
You got to commit to one thing or the other. You can't just walk the line and have both. We're not doing this, will they, won't they shit.
No. Well, again, it's not if it was a romance movie, you could, but it's not fully concerned with that.
Pick a side of the street and stay on it. You cannot straddle the yellow line.
So they have this cute little scene here, which I think is, again, performance-wise, they both have put in a pretty understated kind of genuine performance here that I think works for a kids movie. But they, I think they have a good chemistry here for what it is. They cut to the actual skeptic panel and stuff where they got like a psychic and like two other like asshole old men scientists. They put Danny to the test. He supposedly levitates for him. Max is like, but you see, it was just a chair that levitates. And he said that, and he embarrasses him basically in front of everybody. Max's motives here are a little wild. He does nothing to like earn Danny's trust throughout the
Not at all.
to like cozy up to him until like a couple scenes from now. Allison freaks out on Danny for lying to her about really being magic. And she
goes and she gives us the great line of, "You did a great job for your final trick, managing to make your only ally disappear."
That's later.
Oh, that's not then?
That's not then because we still got a couple more things to get through.
Mercy.
But yeah, don't worry. But so she's pissed off. But this sets that up to like this. I guess this is more or less Max's objective here, is he does like isolate Danny from her. And
her allegiance flips real quick.
Yeah, she's very fickle. For like literally a scene ago, they were just confiding in each other and holding hands and being like, "I believe in you," and then like not a scene later, and she's like, "You lied to me about being magic."
Less than 5 minutes later.
Yeah, nothing. Freight train speed on this Disney Channel movie, but in terms of drama,
the pendulum swings real fast.
Right. So what comes next here? Okay. Oh, right. So this is my biggest support for the if there is going to be a romantic element to this. This is it. Is we cut to Allison angrily doodling on his photos. Which I don't think is a thing you do to a friend. I think that's a thing you do to an ex. you know, or someone that's rejected you.
Clearly, you've never been in a girl fight.
No. Thank God. I guess I can see that as a girl. As a girl, I can see angrily doodling on your book photos.
It is weird, though, that she's doing it for a boy.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So she's done it to like 5 of them. We see like 5 of them
There's
on
like
the
5
desk.
Polaroid pictures that she's just like absolutely destroying with a Sharpie.
Yeah. And so Cedric's like, "You're pretty mad at him, huh?" It's like, but he still pulled off that trick earlier with the doves. And she's like, "No, he didn't. I'll show you." And they review which this should be like a big reveal moment. It does not come across that way.
Well, because you kind of have the reveal in the moment that it happens.
Yeah, it's like already the movie has has set up we have like 3 different scenes. We've had the dove, we have the first challenge, the second challenge, where like weird things happen around him without explanation.
Right.
But it takes her reviewing the footage to like prove it to her when I don't know. I feel like the conversation scene earlier in the secret room was a little more powerful than whatever this
Should have been enough.
should have been. You think would be enough. And it feels like an added drama to do this sidebar where she's mad at him for 5 minutes.
Right.
But whatever. So she goes looking for him to apologize and finds him meeting with Max, which is where we get the other big reveal of this movie. And so she's filming them through the vents.
Which Princess Diaries 2 has a very similar grate. Definitely not the same set, but very similar grate where Mia listens to the Parliament. But that's an actual castle with actual like secret passageways.
They got real money. They got Julie Andrews money for those ones.
Right.
Yeah. Not just a bank or whatever.
But this, I feel, is a precursor to those kinds of things. Because that's also not the last time that we see that. It's probably just more than one of the more
this is a good
prominent
set,
ones.
too. Like the little meeting, the little study or whatever it is that he's meeting Danny in. This reveal, so Max is basically mid-conversation with Danny, revealing that he is an actual sorcerer, that Danny is an actual sorcerer, too.
And he knows exactly what he is.
Yeah.
And that Antonio DeMilo, mercy heavens,
was also one. And trained Max, and now it is Max, like only a couple of these are born a generation, so Max is going to train Danny now, and
he set up this whole thing to try to find somebody like himself.
Yeah.
Because when DeMilo passed away, he felt DeMilo was the first person to make him feel unalone, and then DeMilo passed away, and he wants to pass on the torch and
the knowledge.
Very duplicitous words.
Well, I like this. I like how he sells this because up until this moment, you do get the sense that he is antagonistic. For a second, for this scene, like literally for the 2-minute scene that this is, you're like, oh, he's good all along, actually. He's just been isolating Danny so he could get him isolated so that he could, because he knows no one else is going to believe him. And the way that Frank Langella plays it.
And it feels as though all of the little looks and the little facial acting that he has done, the minute reactions that he has had, were for this moment to help Danny realize his powers.
Yeah, well, and he is actually a real mentor, and he has this warm kind of fatherly tone to him, and you kind of buy it for a second. And which again, this all comes down to Frank Langella being a real actor.
Yes.
And like being a good actor.
100%.
Because it's, and they have, but I do think this reveal just kind of comes out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, but it's so casual. It's like Allison is just filming through the grate, and they're mid-conversation, and Max is like, and I too am a sorcerer. And it's like, that's it? That's
the whole bit?
We don't get like a scene of him like, I don't know, snapping his fingers and like magic dust falls out of the air. Whatever.
He does the knights thing. He makes the knight move.
Yeah, but that's in a sec. I'm saying there's no big like, I am a sorcerer. There's no you're a wizard, Harry. There's no big reveal for Max. It's just the movie almost kind of like figures like he's magic too, It's so casual the way it's done. He's
been doing little things with like the cards for the ratings and stuff.
Yeah. Part of me likes it because it is so understated in that way, but part of me is like,
because if it were over the top, you'd hate him. So
it's hard to. He's been so low key this movie anyway. It would kind of come out of nowhere if he was just like, I am a sorcerer, Danny. You are? Yeah, like the movie, it doesn't have that tone, I guess.
He's not a flamboyant person, like
for a magician,
character.
You're right. Yeah, he is not a flamboyant magician. But they do have a little fight scene here with some awesome CGI on the knights.
Yeah.
Because they have 2 knights fight, which, like, man, where did the budget go? Because
right there in that one scene.
The whole is like $100 of Like, I know this is 2005, but still, like, man, these nights. Halloween Town was before this, and that looked. I'm sure maybe if we go back, it will look awful.
Yeah, wait. Just wait.
Yeah.
Hold your reservations.
Sure. I don't know. So, yeah, they do this fight with the knights, which we talked. That's funny about this. Where, like, Frank Langella is doing this, like, subtle, like, force wave with his hand. Uh-huh. And Danny is, like, shadow boxing.
Yes. He's like, because he's not, and I think it really nicely shows, without telling you, the difference in control in both of them.
It's right, and he says this, and yeah, he almost like kills Frank with like one of the knights.
With a mace.
Like throws the mace into the thing, yeah. And Max is like, "You'll learn in time." He gives him a ring, which there's some fairy lore that you immediately clocked.
Yeah, because I was immediately like, "That's a siphon," and you were like, "How the hell do you know?" No, I'm sorry. How the HE double hockey sticks?
How the you know where?
You know.
Yeah. So is this from your Court of Thorns and Roses that you recognize the concept of a siphon?
I don't want to say it's from that, but it is.
I've not heard that term for it. Like conceptually, that sounds like a thing, but I've not heard. I know what siphon means. You know what I mean as a word, but I've not heard it referred to like a specific item like that before.
Yeah, it's most recently for me reading. It has been in that, but it's also been in the Piper CJ books.
I did not know those.
So, in the Piper CJ books, also a spoiler alert. Skip the next 15 seconds if you're reading these and you don't want the spoiler. In this Piper CJ books, there are also magical fae. They have these powers, and one of their queen is a succubus.
Oh.
And requires constant affection.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. But she feeds off affection and love and familial, or not familial, but all the different types of love. But she feeds off any of those, and it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic.
Yeah.
And so they chose 3 of her more powerful
consorts.
Not really consorts, even just like of her court. The 3 who were the most powerful wore siphons to make sure that she had a steady supply of affection and love in order to make sure that she never dies.
Okay.
Or is never vulnerable enough to die, because once if her love meter, for lack of a better word, is depleted, she is vulnerable.
Damn.
But if not, she's fine. Okay. And so that was what I was thinking of when I said siphon. One, because they specifically got rings as siphons.
Okay.
And then 2, the way that it glowed is kind of how she describes it in the book of how it glows. And then additionally, I was thinking that he would want the way that he was talking. Yeah. Even before we get the reveal, he was talking as though he wanted to like diminish Danny's powers. I wasn't quite sure that he wanted it for himself, but he definitely wanted to diminish the powers because he recognized when the mace came at his face
that he was pretty powerful.
That he was pretty powerful.
Yeah, right. So he gives him this ring. Good deep dive, by the way, on the fairy siphon lore.
I love them. I love Piper CJ. Sarah J. Maas, I just have committed to because I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm in it.
I'm not proud of it.
I'm not necessarily
ashamed
proud
of
it. I'm not really ashamed of it either.
No.
It is what it is.
Yeah. It's like these movies. It's like these Disney movies.
It's part of who I am now.
You know what? I like them. Whatever.
It was character development for me.
But Max gives him this ring that he says will like keep his powers in check, basically. Sends him off to have a good night's sleep. And then we get the reveal that Paul is also a villain. Creepy Paul.
Man, Paul just materializes too for this.
Yeah.
This is probably the best reveal, is this materialization of him.
Because it has been like there's little seeds have been planted that he's like watching and creeping in the background and stuff. But he reveals that like, he actually he's in league with him, and the ring will not keep Danny's powers in check, but will prevent him from using them. And once Max kills him, if he's wearing the ring, he will absorb his powers just like he did to DeMilo.
Meanwhile, Allison gets all of this on tape.
Yeah, she's gonna bust this crime wide open, right?
Right.
Right. So she rushes away to. This is a quick too. They like the turnaround for Max here. Be like, for a scene, we think he's a good guy, and then like
Not even.
Yeah, right. Within the same scene, he's
30
like,
seconds of the scene.
yeah, and he's like, I'm actually evil all along. But even that, like his tone doesn't shift. You know what I mean? Like he's still
No, because this man is not. It's all in the micro reactions in his face.
again. Like a stupid good performance. Even as a kid, I remember loving this guy as a villain. Just Frank Langella's Max.
Do you
here.
just like villains though?
I love villains. I love a good villain. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted it clarified for posterity.
Absolutely. But they, so Allison goes to like, or the next day, basically. This is weird too. I don't like this at all because this feels like very rushed version of like the like I'm suddenly popular now plot that you'd see in these other movies, where Danny is like juggling, he's hanging out with the other kids the next morning. Allison goes to warn him, and Paul pops up in the background to creep on him.
You missed it the first time.
Yeah.
It was so good.
He's sitting on the grass, and then he like rises up into frame. It's a very uncomfy scene, but because he's just this creepy adult hanging out with kids the whole time. You know what I mean? Like it's just as a concept, it's like why are you here?
Very indicative of some things that came out recently.
Sure, right? Yeah, like the
Not necessarily about any of these folks, but
no, yeah, but yeah, sure. But Danny is like saying like I'm finally a normal kid, Allison. I'm finally normal, whatever. And I'm like, it's been a night and a day.
Barely.
You just hang out with people. Like what made them like you more? Now, normally, like in another like teen high school movie, it would be like.
There's a whole montage of like a makeover.
Of them
and
becoming popular and them like leaving their old friends behind and stuff. Yeah. And so they kind of cram like that dynamic into just like.
An overnight.
Yeah.
thing.
And so it just doesn't make any real sense. I get what they're going for. Because I get that's kind of Danny's arc is that he wants to be normal and stuff like that. And he just doesn't want to be a freak anymore.
Why didn't we get the actual like transformation montage?
Yeah, there's nothing to show that like the other kids are into him or that feels like it does not track whatsoever. This is like the one part of the movie that I'm like, we needed to leave this behind or this needed another rewrite. Or like the time frame of the movie needed to be longer than like the 7-day retreat for the TV show or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, like it just doesn't the trope does not work here whatsoever.
No, because the timing is off.
Yeah, the timing is so off for it. But Allison is like, you gotta believe me, he's gonna kill you. And they run off to the producer lady, which this doesn't make any sense either, where she's like, they're both sorcerers, and he's going to kill Danny, and he might be evil. And like, but obviously he and Max are like, we don't know what she's talking about. She gives the tape to the producer lady in charge. Or no, hold on, go ahead.
So.
Did I forget something?
All right, so here's some lore about VHS tapes.
Okay, yeah, right, because again, for our younger listeners, VHS tapes were, think of them as physical streams
of a film.
Do you know Craig Ferguson, late night show host a couple years ago?
Yes.
He's Scottish. He has like one of my favorite bits he ever did is like he would be like, I was reading a book the other day. He's Scottish. I was reading a book for our younger viewers. A book is like a papery blog. So that's like always stayed with me. Anyway, sorry.
That was very good.
Yeah.
It's good. Take me a minute to recover. So for VHS tapes, I only know this because I watched a lot of VHS tapes and I was a little bit of a techie kid. Because I was not like other girls. I was.
I wish I liked lip gloss and going to the mall with my friends and texting, but I just don't. Like literally a line she says.
I didn't like it until I was an adult and I didn't have somebody like.
There you go.
That's what it was. Now, find me in a store.
Grew into being like other girls.
I did. Anyway, the main thing about VHS tapes that you had to remember, and I only knew this because, do you remember the snake egg magnets? Where you
No.
They were like these oblong, very powerful magnets, and they usually came two in a set. And if you put them together, they made like the weird, like wow sound.
I have no idea. Or I remember. Oh yeah.
There was a whole stage when we were like 6 or 7.
Like you'd get it like a museum or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those magnets specifically, and I used to play with those a lot. It was like my little like tick thing, my fidget thing.
Yeah.
Before we had fidget spinners.
Yes. Yeah.
But
millennial podcast.
Millennial podcast. But those were so powerful, though, that you could not get, like, I was always warned, do not put that near a tape. Do not put that near film because it will fuck up the thing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand why until, like, one day.
Just try it.
Because we did a lot of, like, home movies and stuff.
Sure.
And so my dad was like, all right, well, like, just, like, try it and see. And then, like, you see the snow on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And with that kind of magnet, it was so powerful that it just kind of hovered over it. If you got the magnet close enough to that part of the film, that part of the film disappeared. It erased. And so what we see Max take the tape from Allison and rub his, like, thumb over it a bunch.
Yeah. It's the same kind of effect.
Highly possible that that's what he did, was erasing it with his, like, because he would be able to
obviously you can
that.
do it with magic,
right?
Yeah, but like, which again kind of goes back to the thing where it's like there is a version of this movie you can make without any real magic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like there is a. So I don't know. I feel like
he could have like a magnet, like, on a ring or something.
It would almost be interesting if there was a double twist in it where like there is that there never was any real magic, but that would have been, I think, a little too complicated for.
Yeah, but that was something that I knew specifically because of the way that I was a curious kid with some magnets.
Just fucked around and found out on that one.
Yep.
Yeah. but Max erases the tape and they this is like you're a hysterical woman, full like 19, like they gaslight her into quitting the show basically. And this is pretty harsh. Like, I don't know if this just hits now because it's like, I don't know. There's definitely
to her credit, the tears never fall. You see that she has tears in her eyes, but like, good on her.
Again,
for like holding her ground.
She's a great actress. Like she genuinely carries this again.
Not that it's a bad thing to cry.
No. But I don't think it would be in character for her to. Really, I think she is like she's not like other girls. She doesn't get emotional.
Oh help!
But,
Oh help!
But she's kicked off the show basically, and this is where she has her great line to Danny.
Oh yeah.
About your greatest trick of all.
Managing to make your only ally disappear.
Great thing. And she has a nice long scene here on the bus where she's like, there's one last puzzle to solve.
And my gut was telling me, I had a gut feeling, call it my ESP or whatever.
Yeah. But so she goes to like the library or whatever, does some Googling. This is how you had to do it.
Another thing is that, like, we didn't have laptops. You didn't have your phone that you could look anything up on.
No, yeah, you had to go and do it somewhere else.
You had to go to a stationary spot where the computer stayed.
Yep, you had to be lucky enough to like use the school library or something.
Yeah.
So she goes and does that, looks up Antonio DeMilo's death, which this is pretty fucking dark.
Very dark.
For a Disney movie, is he was killed by like something fell and like crushed his skull.
Uh-huh.
And it was a signature trick. Like he had done this trick 1,000 times.
And on his signature trick on stage, one of the props fell.
Yeah. And we see like a photo of him and he's got like the ring in his casket.
Ring in his hand in his casket.
Yeah. So, but bloody, like obviously they don't show it. But even just saying like the words.
He was smashed to death.
The words crushed his skull.
Yeah.
Is wild in a Disney channel. So I like, again, like this, throw in a little bit more of this cool camera work, throw out some of these little friendshipy bullshit Disney stuff. And you've got Disney Channel's Blair Witch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's in there. So she rushes back to try to save the day, to try to save it, realizing that that's what Max is going to do today. He's going to kill him on stage and steal his powers, which I feel like there's an easier way to go about doing that, Max. But the magician in him, I guess, just wants it to be a spectacle. So she sneaks back into the studio or the mansion. You thought it was going to be an elaborate break-in scene.
I did.
No.
I thought she was going to enlist Cedric and like do this whole like black clothes like type clandestine thing.
Like the one scene in Riverdale where like Veronica's in the cat suit and they break into the the asylum.
Yes.
It's like, what are you wearing this for, girl?
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah, but no, she's just in a box. She's just wheeled in a box. The opening night is underway. Everyone's there. Again, it does just kind of look like a school talent show.
Yes.
Like the set is
but
not
like his parents are
particularly-
invited to come out, and like the producer lady is like very sweet, and she's like, your seats are over here. He's very excited to see you.
about to watch their sons fucking get decapitated.
Basically.
So she manages to sneak around, and then
Hunter signs for the package that she is in.
so he finds her and he chases her into the Hall of Mirrors, which is also a disappointing thing. Is they have an earlier scene where like she chases Danny into the Hall of Mirrors.
And it should be this very big like reveal.
Yeah, you kind of expect there to be like, oh cool, we have a Hall of Mirrors. Maybe there'll be a really exciting chase scene in there or something. And it's
Or
like,
like a good
no.
fun house scene.
Yeah, no, they don't do anything interesting with it really. They just go in and like they stay there for a minute, and that's kind of it.
Yep.
Hunter goes and rats her out to Max, like kind of whispers to him, like, oh, she's around. She manages to find Danny backstage, still fails to convince him about what's going on
And to get the ring off.
and to get the ring off. So we see Brandon doing his trick, which is just just throws cards around everywhere. He's boring as fuck. I don't even remember what fucking Zoe does.
I don't think we even get to
I don't think we did
see
either.
what
Yeah,
she does.
who cares? Yeah, there's no again. When you get around to like the High School Musicals and stuff, I think like those were just so big, and you had so many like, oh, like they're fucking really dancing here and stuff. I don't know, like they had a bit more spectacle to them.
Well, they also try like yes, with the High School Musical, it was a more inclusive main character type thing, where it wasn't just like one like. You knew Troy and Gabriella were the main characters, but you still had like Sharpay's stuff, you
Just a
had
good
Ryan's
ensemble,
stuff,
yeah.
you had Kelsey's stuff. Like this, it's very
Well,
clearly
it's not
just
even
about those two.
Well, it's not even that though. I just mean like we don't get as much. Like it's for the finale, we don't see like a detailed performance of their last little tricks.
Oh
And
no!
and that's kind of been like the gimmick that's been kind of keeping us on the hook. Is like, all right, trick number 1, trick number 2, and it's like this one. It's just like let's just get it over with. But so we get to Danny's trick,
We
which
got bigger
is
fish to fry.
right. Yeah, we got a kid to decapitate here. So, which almost happens. So Danny goes and like he's trying to like lift this weight over his head.
I was concerned for him actually because I
Again.
like you had me yelling. Like
It's dark.
it's very dark.
Yeah, so he lifts it, or Max rather lifts it, and then it does almost fall on him. Allison like tells him to get out of the way. He does, and then realizes like, oh shit, he's right, or she's right. He's out here to kill me. So they have this weird magician off. Allison gets wheeled out in the box. Max almost stabs her.
Well, Cedric, did you notice Cedric pointing out?
Right. Cedric. Yeah, this is like Cedric comes in clutch in the last second here, where he does manage to get her on stage in the box. Max almost stabs him. He like waves him off with a sword.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
Max's patience wanes so thin by this point, and it's
Right.
so thinly veiled, his like little rage.
Yeah, no, yeah. The veneer finally breaks a little bit in this one, which again, like just the only truly great acting going on in this movie. Allison's pretty good too. I think she's okay.
Yeah.
And Danny's good for what he is.
I don't think they gave him very much to work
No,
with.
yeah, you're a broody teen. Go, action.
Yeah.
So Allison comes out. They have a little sword. They have like the stick of the sword in the box thing. She manages to survive it somehow, and she manages to slip the ring off of Danny. They have one final wizard duel now that he's free, which basically involves Max sending him up to spin in the air.
Yes.
Somehow Danny like flies back down, throws the ring onto Max, and he disappears in a puff of smoke. And Danny's okay.
And scene.
And scene, yeah. So I definitely remember that too as a kid being a little more interesting and like, oh, you don't know, for a final wizard duel, that's also supposed to be part of the show, right? Like that's the element too. Is like this is a very much more intense, and I don't know, like it's hard to sell this all as being part of the show, which I guess is kind of explained away because we get to Allison, we cut back finally to the framing device.
Yeah, because they keep acting like their mics aren't on.
Right, yeah. They're like, now it's your turn, Max. Danny, use the ring. It's like, what is... So if you're in the crowd, you're like, what are they talking about?
Why are they?
Why are they... Is this part of it?
What is going on?
Right, yeah. It's okay.
And you kind of see it in the way that they pan to like his parents and stuff in the audience with their faces like weirded
Yeah,
out.
and the
They're like,
boyfriends are also like, what's going on? So yeah, it's...
We forgot the sequin crisis.
Oh, yes. Probably our biggest evidence that these two are together. Is before all this, as they're setting up the finale, like you hear like one of like the stage manager people or whatever be like, Brandon is he's having a sequin crisis.
And then, like, Hunter takes off to go help with it.
With the sequin. Yeah, so those two should have a whole other off-screen plot that is maybe a much more romantic movie. Who knows? As opposed to this ambiguous mess we're dealing with over here. So we come back to Allison in the end, and she's like, Max disappeared. Paul must have taken Paul gets no repercussions. We don't know what happened to him.
Nope.
But he must have taken the ring off. All the videos from all the tapes from the show disappeared, so nothing happened.
But they then reappeared in her room.
In her room, so she knows what happened. And then Danny's still out there somewhere.
Danny's gone into hiding, probably to learn more about his powers.
And to fight Max, because Max is also still out there.
To get ready to fight Max.
Which, again, kind of suggests, like, oh, maybe they're building a world here that obviously never came to fruition.
And then she says, I don't know where he is.
And the popcorn bucket floats. And she's like, well, maybe I do know where he is. And then she gets magically teleported via the weird transition acid sequence that they've got cooked up here.
Yes.
And then they're on a park bench together, and he's like, I still don't know how you do that. He's like, magic, haha. Yes. And they fall back on a bench together and don't kiss. and that's the end of the
But
movie.
his arm's around her, though.
His arm's around her, and she's kind of leaning into him and stuff. It's a little cuddly, I guess.
He has a top hat.
But otherwise, just looks like a 2000 skater bro. So
yeah.
But he's out there fighting evil, apparently. So I don't know. But the other thing that bothers me about this ending is it leaves her in a bad position. This whole reality show that she signed up to do, right, is her whole career. This is what she wants to do. It's gone. The whole thing collapsed because Max disappeared. The show was ruined. The tapes were gone.
Well, allegedly, this is her trying to get that back a little bit.
Put the truth back out there or something?
Yeah, because she gets to cut the tapes back together, and she felt that it was important to show everyone.
I suppose. But that still doesn't. That just makes her a weird conspiracy nut about wizards.
Sure.
As opposed to the reality producer big shot that she wanted to be. But I guess the puzzle solver has won out, I suppose.
Right.
That you know.
The satisfaction of the puzzle being solved is her sustaining thing.
Which, again, I guess this is kind of a mystery movie, kind of a puzzle movie, but not really. But
it ends very abruptly.
Yeah.
I just looked at you and I was like, what, huh?
I was like, yep, that's it, dude.
And you're like, yeah, that's it.
Well, it does it does end with the cover of Do You Believe in Magic by Allie and AJ.
Yeah.
Which is a great cover of that
We really
song.
like them.
Love them. Love that she got to sing for this too. So yeah, this is now you see it. Now you tell me what you think. Let's do your plot production and performance ratings. You always ask me first, but I'll ask you. So plot. What are you thinking?
3 out of 5.
Sure.
It wasn't terrible.
No.
But it also wasn't really well thought out. There are a few things that I wanted fleshed out a little better. There are many things that I was like, why?
It's got, for me, I would put it at a 3-2, where it's like, I like the idea of like kids going away to learn magic. I like the idea of a reality show. I don't know that I like the idea of those two together. I like the idea of like a magic mansion that has secrets in it. It has nothing to do with anything else that happens. So yeah, like
and it's not it's underutilized.
I like the idea of the little friendship thing of like two loners learning to love each other through a show or whatever.
But you wanted them together.
Either or, I think that's half baked. I think they can't decide whether that should be a friendship or whether it shouldn't be. So,
I wish they'd have committed to one way or the other.
Exactly, yeah. So there's a lot of that, I think. But overall, again,
I'd committed to friendship
for a kids movie. Yeah, for the 3, it's a plot. Production.
Ooh, that's a little more rough.
Right, it's not high cinema. Like there's no cool shot here, cool set here. Like a few things, I guess.
3 still. I think maybe even 2.5. Because it's not. If you were shooting in a bank.
Yeah. Just
from some of the hijinks that we had personally, there were so many more things to do with all of that space. You know what I mean? There's a better utilization of the space. There's a better way to go about this whole just production in general, like the transitions, and as we talked about, conceptualizing the vlog aspect of it, all of that.
Even cleaning up some of the magic tricks to where they don't look as exposed.
Right. Yeah. Because your audience is kids. Sure, kids are easily amused, kind of, not really. But you could have given slightly more effort slightly, not a whole lot, slightly
Yeah.
more effort, and gotten this accomplished a lot better.
I will be a little more generous and give it a 3.5 purely because I do think the found footage aspects of it are very original
That's
for a
cool.
Disney Channel.
That's cool.
I don't think they commit to them enough
No.
for it to be as cool as it could have been, but I like those elements. I like how they use the premise of a reality TV show to at least play with the production elements of it.
Right.
But that's all they ever do is they only ever play with it.
They dip their toe in.
And same thing with the magic, where they play with that being a part of it, but they don't really commit to it fully. There's still some good shots here and there. I think the music does a good job of, like, again, kind of creating this sense of unease and dread, while it's still very fantastical and kid friendly and stuff. But I mean, I think there's more that is working for it, but I think it's just uncommitted in the coolest and more original parts of it.
Yes.
So, performance.
4.5.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The boyfriends did as much as they could to have their boyfriend
To be
moments.
memorable little side characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And clearly it stuck. Frank Langella,
Frank Langella. Yeah.
excellent. Paul, excellent creep.
Sure.
I believe he's a creep in real life. Like, you know, like I'm fully committed to that thought.
Okay.
Danny needs work, but I think that had more to do with writing than it had performance, so it's only a half point off. And Allison, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cedric, excellent.
Also, yeah, I'd sit with you there too at 4.5. I think they are fighting a lot of times against a Disney Channel script.
Yeah.
And winning.
Yeah.
Is the thing. Is, you know,
Yeah.
like they are selling those performances beyond the script that they've been given.
The egg yolk actually running down her face. I
Yeah.
know she, as a child actress, she probably didn't get a whole lot of say in that.
Right. Yeah. They're communicating a depth, I think, like facially and through those lines that is probably not there on paper.
Yep.
Like Frank Langella has a lot of good, even just silent. Again, like you say, like the stares that he has, the little micro expressions in his eyes and stuff like that. Even Danny, I think, has a few of those where, like, he's often just has this confused, like, weird look in his face, but it tracks for a kid who doesn't have a great hold on his emotions.
Right. And then the producer lady,
Ms.
she
McAllister.
yes, she does a great job of selling.
Just being the normal adult in the room,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't get a whole lot to do, but, like, is a grounding presence in the background.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the better, like, casts, I would say, of these. I like it. I like this movie a lot. I think it holds up okay. I would still, I see it being like a foundational weird kid movie because it is like, it's about magic. It's about a weird hobby that requires a bit of dedication to it. And I think it has those elements about, like, not being like other kids. And I don't think that's necessarily, like, again, the movie isn't really interested in that. That feels like a Disney Channel mandate
Well, I
that
give
they've
it,
just thrown into it. But
as I kind of stated at the first half, it has a foundational element to it that paved a way.
yeah, we hope this has been as magical an episode for you as it was a magical movie for us to watch.
It's kind of fun to be able to talk about a less, not that the oceans are very intense, but a less high, like, I don't know.
Like just a low stakes.
Less serious.
Yeah, right. Just a low stake. Again, it's good for a kids movie. I think that is kind of the premise of this one, is that it's just, it's fun. And it's not one that people think about. Like, to me, it's kind of the cult classic of these where it's like, again, it's not High School Musical. It's not
Princess Protection Program.
it's not one of those. It doesn't have any big names. Like, Allison Michalka, like, did Phil of the Future and this, and then, like, kind of just ditched Disney. Like, she
went
didn't
to
have.
CW.
Yeah, right.
To Hellcats.
Hellcats, yes, I was reading that. I need to, like, I'm going through her career. I'm like, I need to watch some more stuff that she's in, because she is
Matter
great.
of fact, you'd love that because Ashley Tisdale's in Hellcats too.
No kidding. I will be.
As cheerleaders.
I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna go. I've got a whole ass show to watch.
You do.
So
This has been Ashley,
this has been Garrett.
and thank you for tuning in to the podcast of critics.